quick welcome here and go over a few things. We're so glad you've all joined us for our QuickBooks webinar today. We'll be going over QuickBooks, really helpful tool to small businesses for financial tracking. So we're so glad you've all joined us. For those of you who haven't come to one of our webinars before, we are the North Metro Small Business Development Center. We offer free one-on-one consulting services as well as educational programming and access to resources. So this program is also co-sponsored by the City of Westminster, our partners there in the Economic Development Department. So we're so thankful for their partnership as we provide these resources to you, and want to just quickly mention one of the new resources they have. There's a page on their website where you can see trainings. So all of the past trainings that maybe we have partnered with them for, and also training specific to City of Westminster. So I'll drop that link in the chat here shortly, but really helpful resource to get some of that information, and also to stay on top of upcoming webinars for them and other events coming up for them. So again, that will be in the chat that I'll put in there. And big thank you to City of Westminster for making this possible. This is going to be a fast-paced hour of information, so you may want to grab something to write with. There's also a handout to follow along with in the GoToWebinar panel. If you click on the Handouts tab, you can get access to that, and we'll also email that out this afternoon when we email out the recording, which is my next point, that this is recorded. So if you're scrambling to get all the information, don't worry, you will be able to go back and access all of that information. And another point we will bring up several times throughout the session today is we do have, through the North Metro SBDC, we have a QuickBooks consultant. Her name is Carol Johnson, and I will put her direct scheduling link in the chat as well if you want to go through more specific questions to your QuickBooks situation, things like that. But for today, we'll just do a few quick intros. I'm Hannah Curtis. I'm the coordinator with the North Metro Small Business Development Center, and our instructor today, as well as next week for our 201 session, which we'll encourage all of you to sign up for as well, is Susie Schutz. She is co-owner of APIS Business Solutions and EL3 Hub. She's very generous with her time to walk us through these need-to-know basics of QuickBooks. Before I turn it over to you, Susie, I do want to mention, as questions do come up for you, feel free to put them into our questions tab. We'll take a look at those at the end of the session. We'll do some Q&A. And again, that questions tab is on your GoToWebinar panel right above the handout section. So you should probably already be familiar with that if you're looking for that handout, but feel free to type those in. And Susie, thank you for being with us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here today with you. As Hannah said, this is going to be a quick, fast-paced webinar. There's a lot to cover. In the handbook that I gave you, what I've done is added some explanations of some of what I'm going to go through. I have typed out in there for you, and I've done screenshots of the actual QuickBooks program to have as a reference going forward. So I hope that will be a great tool for you if you have an opportunity to have that handy. That'd be great, just so that you can follow along. So the first thing, and Hannah, can you just confirm that everybody can see my screen?
Yes, I believe we are all seeing the plans for every kind of business.
Okay, perfect. So the first part that I want to cover today in QuickBooks is just making sure that you're using the right version. So you can go to QuickBooks, you can go to the web and just type in a QuickBooks search for QuickBooks Online pricing comparison. And then I would suggest that you just make sure that, I'll make my screen a little bit bigger for you, but that it's an actual QuickBooks site that you're going at. There are other people that will, options for sales with other companies, but that way you're really getting the QuickBooks information that you need. Sorry, while my screen refreshes there. And there's a number of different levels, and this is in the workbook too. There's Simple Start, Essentials Plus, and Advanced. And so what I really suggest that you do is think about, make a list of everything that you would like your accounting software or your bookkeeping software, like what kind of answers, or excuse me, questions do you need answered about your business, or what kinds of things would you like this software to do for you? And then that'll help you figure out which version you want to use. Also, I want to point out that they're always running a promotion. So if you have not purchased your QuickBooks yet, you can, they always, or it's very common that they do the first 3 months or 50% off. Or you can get 1 month free. Generally, the 3 month 50% discount is a better deal for you. But so the way that you can kind of think about, well, what do I need? What's important to me is that you can look at, they have this comparison, and it tells you the different things that it will track for you. And so then you can decide if you are not going to invoice out of your software, if you do that through another program, then maybe you don't, it doesn't matter to you as much how much invoicing is available or what the options are. But just pay attention to this list, and then you'll see there's a check mark, so it's going to tell you which plan does what. And as you get further over into the advanced column, it's more expensive, but that's also because it has a lot more functionality. But you never want to pay for more than you need. So just again, make a list, a wish list of what you'd like the software to do for you. On page 3 of the handout that I gave you, it gives you a list of some questions you might ask yourself. For instance, do I want to invoice customers directly out of QuickBooks, or do I want to just be able to import information from another source? So go through that, make your wish list, and then start looking through this list and see what different features are relative to your business. So let's get started. This is a sample company that QuickBooks gives me as an accountant access to. So we're going to use this as we go through the presentation, so that you can actually see where to go in the software to find the features that we're talking about. And one thing I want you to think about is that as we're going through this, you're going to see that there are a lot of questions that you're asked as part of the setup. And it can be a little bit overwhelming, and you probably won't have all of the answers to all of the questions. So this gives you a great opportunity to really start to understand how powerful the software can be. This is, for the price, it's amazing how helpful this software can be in helping you manage the financial side of your business. And so pay attention to all of the questions, and if you can't answer them, but it is relevant to your business, then just make a note of that. And then maybe book a consultation with Carol through the SBDC, or work with your bookkeeper or your accountant to help you figure out those answers. I can tell you that when you're going through the setup, you can change things, which is fabulous. So if you get it a little bit wrong, or you want your business grows and you want to make changes to it, you do have the ability to do that. But you want to get it as close to right from the beginning, at least as to where your business is now. As early on in the process, because cleaning up, changing things, fixing things is very time consuming. And I can tell you from years and years of experience of helping small business owners with their bookkeeping and their accounting, that if your QuickBooks is not set up correctly and you're entering data in not putting it all in the right place, or not utilizing all of the functionality of the software, I can guarantee you it's going to cost you time and money. So the more you can invest in this initial part of making sure that your QuickBooks is set up to match your business model and what you need it to do to help you manage the finances of your company, then it's going to save you money in the long run and will really make you more profitable. So on this first thing, what I'm showing you here is that if you are new to QuickBooks, or if you haven't just completed the startup process, they have a startup guide, and this can be really helpful. It help you so that you can set up payments, how you want to, if you want to be able to receive payments using a QuickBooks option or an Intuit option. It helps you figure out how to set up invoicing, if you're going to invoice customers. So what does invoicing mean? That means that you're going to send basically you're sending an invoice to a customer they bought, now they're going to pay later. You can track time, so it helps you connect with your accountant. And one thing for you to know is that if you have a designated bookkeeper or accountant or CPA that's going to be a resource for you, you can give them access to your QuickBooks file, and that way they can see everything. They can help you with this setup, and you don't get charged for that user. So that's a free user, and would be a great way to make sure that you have a resource to help you with that. So this is, again, this is a lovely little way to help you get part of the setup process going. Also, if you click on your name, the company name, this also gets you to part of the setup program. And this is the account and settings section. And what you want to think about here is that this is where you make sure that really the main, it's a little slow there. All is sort of the generalized information about your company is in there. Why do we want to do that? It helps us make sure that if you are invoicing customers, then it saves a lot of that information and automatically inputs it into your invoicing format so they know who you are. It helps your CPA with tax filing. You can tell it what type of tax structure. So are you a sole proprietor? Are you a partnership? Are you a multi-member LLC? And if you do that, then it also helps direct some of that information in the account list setup, and we'll go over that a little bit more later. But again, think about, this is the area to set up the general information about your company. You only have to put it in there once, and then it stays there forever, so it's absolutely worth the time. If there is something, I think, tax form, so choosing your tax form, and the way that you make changes here is I click over here and this little pen tells me I'm in an edit mode. And here, then there's a drop down list. If I don't know which tax form I use to file my business tax return, then it gives me a list of suggestions. But if I don't know this, just don't fill it out yet. Say you're not sure. But that's a great time for you to then have that conversation with your accountant, your bookkeeper, or your CPA, and help them help you understand the tax structure of your company. Again, and then whenever you're in a screen like this, you always want to make sure that you save your changes. Again, the great thing about it is you can go back and edit it if you got it wrong, but try to do it. I would rather that you skip a section and make a note that you have to go back to that section rather than guess and have it wrong. Again, this so you can see here that this is where I would put in all the general information about my business. Then I can also, this is where it just tells me a little bit about how much of the functionality I'm using in the software. I don't know how much really that's relevant to someone who isn't maybe just a QuickBooks expert. Here, this is saying something isn't quite right, and that's just you're probably not going to get that error. That's just telling me it's a sample company, so I really can't set some of these things up. But again, look at all the different sections and all of the questions that they're asking you. If it's not relevant to you, just skip over it. If it is relevant to you, then try to see if you can answer it. If it is relevant to you and you don't know the answer, this is a great time again to make that list and work with a professional that can help you make the right decisions. And so I would strongly suggest that you go again. This is such a great way for you to start to understand all of the things that the software can do for you. Then this will tell you, like, if for under expenses. So first we were looking at sales. So how do you want to invoice people, or do you need to invoice people? What kind of products and services do you sell? How are you going to track all of that? Then under expenses, this is if you want to enter bills and pay bills, so it allows you to sort of help manage your cash flow, and we're going to go into that a little bit more. So then to just, once I've made all of my choices, then I can just X out or close out of that option, and it brings me back, in this case, back to the dashboard. Wait for it to, what the dashboard is a great place for you to go and to get, this is kind of a good place, sort of like a home base for you to go to. And it allows you to then be able to access things quickly. And so this is a really good place for you to remember that dashboard gets you to things quickly. On the left hand here is what QuickBooks calls their left, it's a navigation part, and this is how you can go to the dashboard. I can quickly go to banking. If I want to look at entering sales information, I can get there, my expenses. So each one of these is what we would call a center. And so the banking center is where I would go to find, to make sure that this is where I go if I want to do some sort of banking activity. So it doesn't have everything there, but it's a quick place to go to do that. And then here, this is just telling me, again, there's all these pop-ups that are going to come up with QuickBooks Online, and these are your friends. These are real important. These are great ways for you to, here you could take a tour to get a step-by-step video on how to use the banking center. So and then you can also get a quick little video of an overview. What does the banking center do for me? What kind of information can I access there? So always pay attention to the pop-ups. They're usually gems of really good information for you. So this is QuickBooks has a lot of different ways for you to get to the same functionality, but I really love the navigation part for you. And this is, again, if I'm looking at the dashboard, this is mostly a lot of the daily activity or monthly, weekly. This is the most common activity that we need to be able to access in our software. Then you also have snapshots that are available. So if I go back to the dashboard and if I hide this, I don't need it anymore. In the dashboard, it's a great way. If I go to the business overview section, so notice how there's two tabs here. So QuickBooks has, this is just like it says, this is if I go to get things done, that's where I can easily access ways for me to enter information into QuickBooks. And then if I want to just sort of see how the company is performing, then I can go to the business overview section. And here it tells me all about my invoicing. And then I have, if there's something to with expenses, it'll show me how am I spending my money. It'll show me my profit. I can get to my bank accounts. I can easily see how much the bank says I have in the bank and how much QuickBooks says I have in the bank. And we'll go over that in a little bit. So these are really great snapshots. And what I want you to also pay attention here is that there's this little down arrow. So here is where I can change the date range. So again, anytime you see something in QuickBooks, go ahead, especially when you're first starting to work with QuickBooks, and just investigate. Look at what your options are as you go through that. Another way that you can get to your company setup is to go through this. It's their cog wheel, or what they call their gear. And so if I go through the gear, now I have even more options on setting up my company. So under your company, I've got my account and settings, and that's the same one that we could get to when we went through just clicking on our company name. But this is also a quick way to manage users. So this is how you can set up who has access to your QuickBooks. And I want you to know that you can set up different levels so that people can help you with your QuickBooks data entry, or they can help you, like your accountant or your CPA, to help take a peek and see if everything is entered correctly. And you're in complete control. You get to turn on and off everyone's access, and you also have, depending on the level of the which product line you used, you also can manage and determine what they can see and what they can't see, what they can change and what they can't change. So you're in complete control, which is always good. That makes me feel good as a business owner. This is where you set up your custom forms, this chart of accounts. So what that is that every financial transaction in your business reports to an account list. In the accounting industry, it's called your chart of accounts. And so this is where you would go to make sure and set up and make sure that list is a true representation of your company's financial activity. There's other lists. So these two columns are additional ways for you to set up more functionality in the QuickBooks. And also the main thing is to make sure that it matches your business. So another tool that they have is this new button. And this is a good thing for you to know. When you click on the new button, and this is on page 6 in the handout that I gave you, but it's logically organized by customers, like how's money coming in, how's money going out, do you have employees, and then some other accounting or transactional things that you need to record in your QuickBooks. So this is a good way, once it's set up, to be able to get to be able to enter transactions into your software. And so again, it's another way for you to look at the list and see all of the options. So it's saying that you can invoice customers, that you need to receive payment, you can create estimates, you can give somebody a credit memo if you're giving them a refund. So it lets you know all the different capabilities of the software. Then under vendors, it says you can just record an expense. Do you want to write checks? Are you entering bills? Are you paying bills? Do you have purchase orders? So you can use credit cards, vendor credits. So again, if you look at these lists, these pull downs, then that helps you understand all the things that the software can do for you. And with the employees under payroll, these this is only relevant if you use the Intuit online payroll option. If you're using an outsourced payroll, then you would not use this column. So that's again, the new button is if you want to enter transactions, and the gear is really, again, is a quick access to get to a lot of the lists for setting up the company. So those are great things to know. And I talked about the drop-down list. Always pay attention if you see that little arrow and see what your options are. Anytime there's this little hand appears, that means you can drill down and you can look further into information. So if I'm here in the invoices and I drill down and it says not due yet, then what this does is it brings up all of my invoicing in a particular screen, and it helps me see who I've invoiced, who's paid me, who hasn't paid me, which can be important. So you get a lot of, there's ways to get more information every time you see that hand. So if I come down here again, and here's an option showing you that QuickBooks has all these pop-up screens, and what it's telling you is it gives you clues on how you can use the software better. So it's telling me here that I can filter this by date and status. So I have more options. So in this one, it's saying all. So if I want, I can say, just show me unpaid invoices. And then this one I can say just for this month. So I can change what I'm seeing, but only if I pay attention to those pull down menus. So if I go back to here and I say this year to date, then again I can drill down. So it says that somebody owes me. If I want to see who owes me or what they owe me, then I can click and I can drill down, and it will show me even more information about what is owed. It tells me if I emailed it to them, if my customer has viewed it, if they paid it. So there's a lot of really great information. So the next thing I want to show you too is, pay attention, if you will, please, that there's always multiple tabs. So when I go into each center, so again, I'm in the sales center here, and I can go to the overview. I can look at all of my sales. I can look at my invoices, payment links. So here's all these different ways that I can quickly get to more specific information about my sales. And you'll notice that this list also matches up here. So these tabs also do the same thing for me. Takes me directly to more specific or more targeted information. So along here, I have great information. It's telling me that I don't have any estimates. This tells me if I have any unbilled activity. This tells me this is if I have invoiced, but they haven't paid me yet. This is how many. So this is like past due. This is the ones that are current, all my invoices that are current. And again, I have that little hand, which means I can drill down and it will actually show me that list. So what I really want you to think about here is that pay attention to all the different tabs And anytime that hand comes up, if you want to get more specific information about what QuickBooks, the generalized information it's giving you, then this is how I can get to that information. Then there is when you have this little green button, then this is a create button or a new button. So this is a quick way. I'm already in sales. So if I look at this new button, it's going to be a quick way for me to get to a way to record sales in my software because it's relevant to the center that I'm in. And here's a pull down menu. So that's telling me again that I have a couple options. I can either create invoices or import from another software. So always look at that not only what the new button is telling me I can do, but if there are additional options, I want to pay attention to that. Then another thing is if I go into create an invoice, let's see if it'll let me. So anytime you're creating something new, if you start a process and you don't like it or you're done, you can just use this X box that will just take you right out. But the good thing it's going to do is if I had created information, it's going to make sure and it's going to ask me, so if I go to the edit invoice, I'm just show you the example. If I change something, it's going to say, hey, wait a minute, you made changes or you didn't make changes. Are you really sure that you want to leave without saving? Because clicking on that X just closes it out. It doesn't save what I'm trying to do. So one thing I wanted to show you also is here on this manage users. That's where I want to, so again, I went to the gear because that's a quick way for me to get to things. And here is where I can add users. I can add a user and I can define what they can do. And here's where I invite my accounting firm. And this is a really great way to get that support. So it can be your bookkeeper or it can be an accountant, but this is how you go to add users to your software. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is setting up vendors and customers. And what I want to show you there, we will start. So a vendor means someone that I purchase from, and that's an expense. That represents an expense. So I can go over here in the navigation bar and I can use the expense center. And if I go here, I can either go to expenses or to vendors. So I want to set up a new vendor. So here I am in the center. I've got my two tabs depending on what I want to do. And here's the new button. And what I want you to look at when you're setting up a new vendor is look at the information that QuickBooks is asking you about that vendor. So if I want to be able to track who I purchase things from, or if I want to track bills because I'm going to buy now and pay later, then I really want to set up the vendor information. If it's 7-Eleven for gas, I might just put in the name of 7-Eleven, but I'm not going to worry about all of the address information. But if it's someone where maybe I want to be able to email them, this is a quick way, a great database way for me to know all of the contact information from the people that I do purchase from. And so I've got all of this. Look at all of your options and see, would it be useful for me now or down the road to have this information at my fingertips? If you print checks, A lot of us, we don't pay by check anymore, but if you do print checks, if you fill out all of this information, like their address information, then all of that will print on the check for you if you print it through QuickBooks. So that's a really time-saving way to pay bills. If you have an account number with them, you can put that there. If they have terms for you, so they can tell you that you have to pay on receipt, or they let you pay in 10 days or 15 days or 30 days, or they give you a discount if you pay quick. All of that, if you'll set that up for the vendors where it makes sense, again, 7-Eleven doesn't matter. But if you're purchasing from a supply house a lot, or if you have a contract person that helps you and you're keeping track of paying them, the more information that you enter in the vendor center, it will make things go. You can track things better for your company, and it's time saving. If you have 1099 contractors, or you have to send them a 1099 at the end of the year, you can put all their business ID, and then you can say that you're tracking them, that you need to send out 1099s at the end of the year to them. And then if by doing this and having all the information here, then when I go to have to prepare those 1099s every year, it takes a fraction of the time than if I had to rebuild all of that information and try to figure it out. So these are great ways to keep track of things. You can add attachments. So if you had an agreement with a vendor and you wanted to have quick access to what that agreement was with them, then I can add that as an attachment right to their vendor name. If they send you a W-9 each year, because you are sending them out a 1099, you can attach that W-9 right to their vendor profile in QuickBooks, and you have it at your fingertips. You can always make a vendor inactive if you don't use them anymore, so don't worry about your list getting too big. Once you make something inactive in QuickBooks, it doesn't delete it, it saves it. It just doesn't, on your reporting, it just doesn't show them as on the current list, but you can always access their information again. So this is a great way to keep track, if it makes sense for you, if you have vendors where you want to track the information. Then once I have that, so now that I've set up a vendor, and it's important for me to have information at my fingertips, then I can also look at what have I purchased from them, when did I purchase it from them, is it a bill, did I pay the bill, or did I just write them a check? So now I also can keep track of all of the information specific to who I'm buying things from. I can get to the vendor detail again. Here's that setup, so I can find that information again, and it shows you I've got their email address, their phone number, their address, their website. So a lot of really useful information if you want to think of using QuickBooks as not just an accounting software, but also sort of a business management database software. So these are and this is on page 9 that gives you an idea here. Now, again, QuickBooks, and it's one thing that it does is it looks at where are you at in the software right now, and what activity might you need to do in that's specific to where you're at. So here it says that if I have a bill, there's a bill payment here. Let's look at the bill. So it says, gosh, maybe what you'd like to do is, now you found that bill for that vendor, maybe you need to go in and change it because you didn't put things in the right place. So it gives you an opportunity to look at what happened, and then also to make changes if you need to. And it tells me all sorts of great things. It tells me this was the bill. It tells me the bill date. It tells me if I had a bill, if they gave me an invoice number, a bill number, I could put that there. It also lets me go see it says that I made one payment so far in this invoice, which paid it in full. There's that little hand again. So that means I can drill down and it says, oh, look, you paid this bill on April 13th of 2021. And now I have a hand, which means I can drill down even further. And I can see that, how did I pay it? I paid it out of my checking account. And I paid it on this date, and that reference number general would be the check number. So there's always ways. Think of it as if you're trying to find you know that you bought something from someone, from a vendor, but you just, gosh, it was 6 months ago and you cannot remember all the information about that purchase. Then if that is important to you, if you put the information into the software, then look how easy it is to find that information again. So it can really be a great again time-saving tool for you, depending on how you use it. The next thing I want to go into is sales. And so here I am at the sales center. And if I go to the overview section, if you haven't set it up now, look how lovely this is. QuickBooks gives you this and helps you figure out how you can set up how you're going to get paid. And you can see here that it says you can record that you get paid by Apple Pay, with credit cards, bank transfers, everything. And you can say, I don't know yet, or you can start and you can get those types of payment options set up. I can't click on them because I'm in a sample file, so it won't really show how this works, but again, QuickBooks has done everything they can to help you be successful in using their software. And here's another in the setup. It's telling me what the percentages of how far I am in the setup, and it also helps me look at all the different options for how to get paid by a customer. And then it also then has a little bit of that quick snapshot of who owes me money. So these are great ways to get to that. Then in each section, you also have a little shortcuts. So if you're more, I prefer icons rather than lists, then they also have included shortcuts for you. And this is, again, we're in sales, so it says, gosh, I want to create a new invoice. That would be something that would be a common activity that relates to how I make my money. You can create recurring new sales, recurring sales. So it gives you shortcuts. If I click on that to get to that different functionality, boom, there I am. I can now create a new invoice. And then when you're going through and you're looking at this, if you do create invoices, if you do track your sales information that way, and we'll go more into that in the QuickBooks 201. But look at what your options are. Every time there's a pull-down menu, every time there's a field, make sure that you are putting the information that is important to you, that's relevant to the way that you need to be able to search for financial information in your software, or that's important for your customer, in this case on the invoicing, to know. And again, I can X out of here, which just doesn't save anything. That just closes it out. So if I want to save something in QuickBooks anytime, no matter what function I'm in, down here, I can just simply save it, or I can save, in this case, it's an invoice I can save and I can email it to my customer. Or I have there's a pull down menu, so there's always options for me to pay attention to. I also have more options down here. I can print or preview it. I can make this particular invoice recurring, which means I bill my customer the same amount every month. So I can just memorize it in QuickBooks and have it do that automatically for me, or I can customize. So always look at what your options are. So if I cancel, and what it will do again is if I have made changes to that, it's gonna pop up and it's gonna say, you made changes to this. Are you sure you want to make those changes? If you made a mistake and you didn't mean to change it, you just say, nope, don't save the changes. So you're all right. You don't have to worry about that. So here, again, I have just the overview, which tells me just general information about sales. I can look at all of the sales. So this is just going to be a list of all the sales that I've recorded, and it tells me the date. What type, in this case, I recorded the sales as an invoice, the number, who the customer was. It just gives me so much information. And if I want, I can use this also. Here's a pull down menu where I can say, I want to print this invoice, send it again, send a reminder, or maybe I want to use this to receive payment against that invoice. So I have lots of ways to get to the different information. And what I want to go through here is that if I'm adding, here's that new button, it's always green, I love that. So I can say new customer, and again, what are all the things that are important for you to track about a customer? Maybe you want to know what they're buying from you, so you want to always make sure that you create a sales transaction in QuickBooks that lets you know what they bought. But I can use this information for marketing purposes because I can track and see who's bought what from me and when. I can have notes if I want to have something that lets me know something special about this customer that I don't want to forget. If they have, if you do have to charge sales tax, I can say whether they're taxable or not. What are my terms with them? So what's the preferred payment method? This is really helpful because if you know that this client or this customer always pays you with a particular credit card, or they always pay you with check, or they always pay you with cash, if you make note of that, then every time you go to receive payment against that customer, QuickBooks automatically says, I bet you they paid you cash. And it will automatically put that into the system for me. And when I'm recording the payments, and then when I'm trying to track what went to the bank, was it a check? Was it cash? Then it's one less thing that I have to record because QuickBooks remembers it for me. I can always change it. I can edit each individual transaction, but if someone pays you the same way over and over again, then you can record it that way. So I work for a club that has a membership, and probably 90% of the members, so I do a recurring invoice for the members every month because they get billed their dues monthly, so QuickBooks automatically creates it for me. Then I have marked the customer that their send method, the delivery method is that they like that they like to receive their bills through an email, so it will automatically mark the invoices as to be emailed later. And then I can also say that a lot of the 90% of the members pay via ACH, automatic ACH transaction coming out of their bank every month. So I can mark that as a payment option. And when I go to receive, when I record that they actually did pay their dues each month, then it's much quicker, much faster for me to record that. So just think about or talk to your bookkeeper if you're not the one doing the bookkeeping, but think about what information would it help for me to know about my customer. And then look at what all your options are. So again, if I have an agreement with a customer, a sales agreement or a service agreement that they have, that I sent to them, and they have signed it and sent it back to me, then I can attach it right to their name, and then I have that agreement always at my fingertips. And then I can add custom fields. There's lots of different ways that I can track information about my customers. But you don't know this maybe when you're first working with QuickBooks. And so what I would suggest is that first come up with a list of everything that you would love. If the software could track something for you, what would you like it to do for you? What kind of answers or questions do you want it to answer about how your business operates? And then you can either work through this yourself by seeing what the options are, or you can speak with a bookkeeper or an accountant or QuickBooks professional, and they can help you get those things set up. So the next thing is that I want to talk about using the banking center. So this is a great way to automate data entry in bringing information into your QuickBooks file. On page 12 of the workbook that I gave you, it gives you a list that there are some limitations with this, using this method. This is a great way, for instance, to track when you use your debit card to purchase things. It's a great way to, if you use a credit card, and you want it to be able to, you want to be able to import that data into your software quickly. So this is a great way to automate some of that, but you have to be careful. One of the things that QuickBooks does is that it's a smart technology, which means that it will remember things that you've done before, and that can be really helpful, except for sometimes what it thinks you wanted to do is not really it will make a mistake in guessing what the how you want to record the transaction. But you can see here that here is where there's income. So it saw a deposit coming into the bank. It assumed it came from Books by Bessie. That could be that there was some sort of indicator on the banking transaction that identified who the customer was, but it said put it to uncategorized income. So that I don't think I don't sell anything called uncategorized, and you probably don't sell something called uncategorized. So that would be a good indicator to me that maybe it got part of the information right, but I need to go in and I need to fix the account. So here in the bank detail, it shows me the bank detail actually said Books by Bessie. So there was some sort of memo that came through. So QuickBooks automatically said, oh, that's Books by Bessie, because we told it to do that. But then it doesn't know where to put the income. And so I need to change I can change the category or the income category to whatever, what they were actually paying for. This is not what you do if you create invoices, that you need to do that differently. But in here it says, hey, I found something. So this is where I had invoiced a customer, then I received payment, or when the payment came in from the bank, it matched that invoice exactly. So QuickBooks said, hey, I found a record and I think it's this one, am I right? So it'll start to do a lot of the data entry. It really speeds up the data entry process for you. but it does not, don't just accept what QuickBooks is telling you. You have to really pay attention and see if it made the right choices. But here, so I can have all of my different bank accounts. Here's my credit card. I can have all of that set up for me. And so this is a really great way to make your data entry go much faster. The one thing that I'm going to say about if you go to page 15, because I think we're running out of time, we just have an hour today. That on the book that I gave you on page 15, I give you some kind of common mistakes or tips for success when you're using the bank feed center. And so if you I think that go over that list and look at that. The biggest thing is that once you accept all of these transactions into your QuickBooks, you're not done yet. You still have to reconcile the bank account or the credit card account and make sure that what's on your bank or credit card statement matches exactly to what QuickBooks says was all of the activity that happened in that month. Sometimes it doesn't download something, or maybe you can have duplications that can occur. So even if you get down here where it says you have 4 review, you have 7, and I add all of these because they're all right, and it says, oh, everything's in, I still have to go through that reconciliation process to make sure that everything was recorded correctly. So that's kind of the quick overview. And I think what I really would like to stress is that you can see that there is a lot of choices and a lot of really great options with QuickBooks. So if you can work with a bookkeeper, an accountant, or work with your SBDC consultant, Carol, to just ensure that you have it set up right. That way, when you start entering data, then all the reports that you get out of the software will be accurate, and you'll have a really good idea of how your business is operating. So Hannah, do we want to check and see, do we have time to go over some questions?
Yes, yeah, thank you so much for all that information. A lot of the what you went over did answer some of our questions, and thank you so much to Colleen, who's been on it with those questions as well. She's great, so a lot of good information there. Just really quick, just a couple that weren't answered. One person was asking about if there's a specific version of QuickBooks that works best for nonprofits and providing receipts for contributions.
So QuickBooks does, that's a great question, thank you. QuickBooks does offer industry-specific software. And on the, Colleen, do you know with the QuickBooks Online version, that I know the desktop version is really good about industry. So if you're construction, or if you're nonprofit, or if you're a service industry, or if you do more maybe like products that you sell, so you have a lot of sales tax, maybe that the system needs to help you track, that there are some really great industry specific options. And there's I'm gonna have to think of it. Gosh darn it, you can also get if you do some research, look up, because QuickBooks does offer special deals for nonprofits on the pricing. There's other programs where you can get discounts on that. So if someone wants to, the nonprofit, if they want to maybe send me an email, I can give them a link to an option for getting their QuickBooks software less expensive.
Oh, great.
It's
Good
called
to have
TechTube, I think is what it is.
Great, thank you. Another one, just real quick, was if someone has multiple projects with the same client, can they invoice separately? Like, how can they break down the time and invoices for that client?
That's perfect. Yeah. So in QuickBooks Online, you can set up projects for specific, and that's a really cool tool. I use that with one client where, so once you set up the project, it will relate all of the expenses as well as the income to that, and it gives you, you have a project section where it actually gives you reports on each project. You can also just set up sub customer. You can have set up a main customer, and then on the customer list just have a sub customer for each project that you're working with them on. You can do it that way too. And then the great thing about that is when you're using those subs, then it will total all of the transactions for that one customer, or it'll show you each individual project.
Great, brilliant, helpful. Last one, just real quick. Can you have two businesses using the same subscription?
Not with QuickBooks Online. I don't think it works very well. You maybe could, I would say no, don't do that. Don't commingle. And the other thing I was going to say too is that if you're buying an accounting software, make sure that you have all of your business, like your bank and your credit cards, are solely for business purpose. So if you're, even if you're a sole proprietor, have a business checking account. Because when you think about how much time you can save using that bank download center as a way to import data into your software and not have to type everything in, if you're mixing your personal and your business, that's going to be a real mess. So I would really generally, with the online version, you have to have a subscription for each business, and you'd want to keep it separate anyway for tax reasons and for legal reasons.
Sure, great. Well, thank you so much for that. I know we didn't get to all of the questions, but for those that are more specific to your situation, we really encourage you to book a session with Carol Johnson. The link to her direct calendar to make a to schedule a session is in the chat, and it will also be in the follow-up email I sent this afternoon. There will be plenty of resources in that, including the recording of today's session. So be on the lookout for that email. And again, you can also visit our website at northmetrosbdc.com to find out more of our resources, our other programming, and to see those schedules for consultants as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Susie and Colleen, for your time today and all the expertise. And we really encourage that you hop back on with us next week for the 201 session to dive into some of these concepts a little deeper and get the most out of your QuickBooks experience. And of course, always a big thank you to City of Westminster for partnering with us on this session. So we really appreciate it. Susie, any last words you'd like to share?
No, I'm glad to help, and I'm assuming that people might feel a bit overwhelmed, but what I really want you to think about is this is a very powerful software for small business for not very much money, and so if you can just get the help setting it up right correctly, boy, it can make a difference in how profitable you are and how well you sleep at night, because you know that your financial information is in good order and is helping you.
Fantastic, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We hope to see you next week, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.